Welcome to Speak for Yourself. Cowherd has the day off. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I can't stand Houston Rockets coach Mike D'Antoni. Last night's Western Conference Finals Game 2 was painful for me. I want the Golden State Warriors to lose because I still don't respect or like the fact Kevin Durant cherry-picked a championship team to join, but that lingering bitterness is being trumped by my distaste and lack of respect for D'Antoni. I want Golden State and Mike D'Antoni to both lose. 2 days after giving the Warriors Game 1 with an all-ISO offensive strategy ripped straight from LeVar Ball's AAU playbook, D'Antoni's Rockets blasted the Warriors 127-105 with a style of play that surely made Red Auerbach smile from heaven. Houston's ball movement and man movement were in stark contrast to the ridiculous 1-on-5 strategy used in Game 1. Rather than acknowledge his error in Game 1, D'Antoni smugly mocked a reporter for suggesting the Rockets played a different style Wednesday night.
Yeah, I mean, we went from the wide open California offense to a triple threat. I mean, we changed everything up. No, we did exactly what we did. We played harder. We got into them, and they felt us physically. And we didn't quite have that same intensity in the first game. Well, our guys are great, and they learned from it, snapped back, and did the job.
D'Antoni acts like he's Greg Popovich. He's not. He's Barry Switzer, the worst coach to ever win a championship. You remember the bootlegger's boy winning a Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys. Switzer made a name for himself in college football with a wishbone offense and players recruited straight from the set of the movie The Longest Yard. D'Antoni made his name in the early 2000s in Phoenix with a high-scoring, gimmicky offense that Popovich would expose every postseason. He dubbed the offense 7 seconds or less, which irritated me because my girlfriend at the time said it was the perfect nickname for my love-making strategy. She was exaggerating. It was 2 minutes or less. All right, back to Dumb Barry and Dumb Tonier. How can I argue that Dumb Tony is worse than Dumb Barry? Easy. Barry Switzer knew exactly who he was. He was a straight shooter. He wasn't condescending and arrogant. Switzer was a hard partier who relied on talented players to carry him.
We did it our way, baby! We did it! We did it! We did it!
Barry Switzer had 2 head coaching jobs, the University of Oklahoma and the Cowboys, and won championships at both places. D'Antoni has coached at 5 different NBA teams and has never advanced to the NBA Finals. Despite his postseason failures, he's hailed in the media as someone who revolutionized basketball with his gimmick offense. But all he really does is hang out on the sideline and put out that vibe. That's why Amari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw left the bench, got suspended, and blew the 2007 series against the Spurs. That's why the 2013 Lakers with Kobe, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, and Metta World Peace were swept in the first round of the playoffs. That's why Popovich, Rick Adelman, and Doc Rivers absolutely own D'Antoni-coached teams. Look, Steph Curry is hobbled and a shell of himself right now. The Rockets should win this series, but I don't have any confidence they will because Dumb Tony can easily figure out a way to blow it. And good God, could you imagine what he might do facing Brad Stevens in the finals? If Mike D'Antoni wins an NBA title, he'll replace Barry Switzer as the worst coach with a major championship. So, I'm telling you, there's a chance. Yeah! All right, joining me now, former NBA star Jim Jackson, NBA analyst Chris Broussard, and former Super Bowl champion Mark Schlereth. Jim, I'm going to start with you because you played for Mike D'Antoni, the worst coach to ever win a major championship if he wins this.
Jim.
He will replace Barry Switzer. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I mean, where do I start? Okay. I played for some coaches that weren't the most intelligent, and Mike is not one of them. He's not one of them.
Did they win titles?
No, they didn't win titles. Okay, here's the thing. Mike's an intelligent, offensive-minded coach. Will put you in situations where you can perform. In Phoenix, unlike Barry Switzer, who inherited a team, he didn't inherit a team. They kind of built that team. That whole offense was strategized by Mike, which a lot of teams then piggybacked off. So you got to give him credit for that. In game situations at times, Mike would put his teammates in certain situations. But here's the thing that
Bad situations.
No. Here's the thing. You talked about San Antonio dismantling the offense. That's not true. Because in 2004, 2005, we averaged about 110 points a game. In the playoffs, it was only 104. So you're going to come down. Where our biggest issue was on the defensive end.
Mike doesn't coach.
Oh,
that.
no. You're right. No.
Has...
Now, I'm agree with you on that. He does not stress the defense. And Mike doesn't like confrontation. That's why when the Houston team or a New York team or a Phoenix team, when something goes awry, especially with his main guys, he won't get on them. He won't hold them accountable. That's my issue with Mike D'Antoni. And in late game situations, Mark, as you know, in playoff situations, if you don't have accountability, if you're not stressing defense from the perspective all year, then you're going to have issues.
Thank you for making my argument.
No, I'm not saying he's dumb, though. He doesn't hold, he hates confrontation.
He would be the worst coach to win a major championship.
I can name a few NBA coaches that I think are worse. That won championships. Bill Fitch, okay, but I'd put D'Antoni ahead of him.
Why?
Because D'Antoni revolutionized, he did help revolutionize the game. D'Antoni turned Steve Nash, who was on the decline. That's why Dallas and Mark Cuban let him go to Phoenix as a free agent. He turned him into a two-time MVP. He would not have been a Hall of Famer had he not played for Mike D'Antoni. You're right. Mike D'Antoni does have some weaknesses, his lack of attention to detail. That's why the players got off the bench. He's not Popovich or somebody like that. But again, Bill Fitch, Paul Westhead, who won the championship with Magic and Kareem, Dick Motta. I would put D'Antoni ahead. He had a gimmick offense, too. At times, Rudy Tomjanovich, I think you could argue D'Antoni's better than him. If D'Antoni has, his problem is he's a one-trick pony. He's going to coach the way he, but it works. Hold on.
It works.
When he has
In the
players,
regular season.
When he has the players that, like Phoenix and Houston, it works sensationally. When he doesn't have the players, New York, the Lakers, it's going to be a failure. But I think he's a very good coach.
He's a one-trick pony who doesn't coach on the defensive end.
You're right.
Great. Thanks for arguing for me.
There are plenty of coaches that aren't great tacticians, that aren't great X's and O's coaches, that are great managers of people. And that's part of the issue, or that's part of what makes you a great coach. There are plenty of guys in the NFL. I have this theory just about coaching in general, and that theory is longevity breeds credibility. If you hang around long enough, eventually everybody believes that you can coach, right? I mean, it happens all the time in the National Football League. Is you get instant credibility. Like guys retire that know that you don't know squat, right? And all of a sudden you're the grand poobah of all things coaching. And that happens all the time. But to be a great coach, to your point, to be a great coach, you have to have attention to detail. You have to be in charge. And when things go awry, when there are confrontations that you have to have, which, I'm not a confrontational person, but if you push me to a point, I'll be a confrontational person. Right. There are those things that have to be settled within a team, and if you don't do it, and that's probably why you've been at 5 different organizations.
There's my point.
Right? That's when you're not willing to do that, eventually you have to go. And those things have to happen.
To me, he gets treated like he's Larry Brown. He's gotten 5 opportunities. And again, Larry Brown coached 9 different NBA teams, and I get it because he was that good. And he took that Pistons team and won a championship with it when everybody else needs a superstar. But that's how Mike D'Antoni, 5 different teams, and he's never been to the NBA Finals. And there's a few other coaches on that list, but D'Antoni stands at the top of it to me. Couldn't handle Carmelo Anthony. Swept with Kobe, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, and Metta World Peace. Swept in the first round. He drives me crazy. And then to get up there and mock people yesterday like they didn't change their offense, that drives me crazy. They did change their offense.
They ran more ISOs in Game 2 than Game 1. Now, it wasn't as James Harden-centric. That was the difference. Harden's drives and ISOs were down, but Chris Paul's were up. So they had a little more movement, and other guys got involved. A little more movement? Other guys got involved, but that's essentially what they do.
They made quicker decisions with the ball. When the ball came around, they went into their offense. But also, let's go back to this Lakers thing. You keep in mind how that team was built. Mike D'Antoni's team never was a center-centric oriented offense. So when he came to the Lakers, Mitch Kupchak and the guys made moves to get Dwight Howard and Paul Gasol. It never was going to work. in Mike D'Antoni's system. So he was dead from arrival on that. So that's not on him.
Sounds like a bad coach.
No.
He can only coach one style of play.
But hold up. That's why they brought him there to coach a certain style, but they didn't give him the ammunition to do it. Again, I had an issue with Mike because when I stopped playing, he wouldn't talk to me. I said, Mike, bruh, you can talk to me. I'm still going to come here and work hard, but he doesn't like confrontation. That's my biggest issue with Mike, the defensive end, and he won't confront.
Be clear on that. You were on the team,
I was on the team. I wasn't in the rotation. But before he would talk to me, now he stopped. So he doesn't like that type of confrontation. And Mark, as you know, at some point, you're going to have to talk to somebody and put them in their place as a coach. And if you don't do it, it's going to come back to bite you.
At some point, you have to not only you have to be empowered, and you have to be in charge, and you have to say, this is the way it's going to be, and I don't care if you don't like it. I look at him more like, from my perspective, he reminds me of Chip Kelly. Remember how Chip Kelly was going to come to the league, and he was going to revolutionize the league, and they were going to drink protein shakes, and, they're going to do a bunch of stupid stuff, and it was just going to be awesome?
Yeah.
Like, I think that Chip Kelly could be a really good NFL coach if you had 80-man rosters, so that you could rotate a defense. You could be too deep on a defense, and you could rotate a defense. But the problem is you wear your defense out to the point where they can't play anymore, and then you can't keep up with the pace that you want to play on the offensive side. And
you know what the difference is between Chip Kelly and Mike D'Antoni? They ran Chip Kelly back to college football. He won't be coaching 5 different NFL teams like Mike D'Antoni.
He did coach 2.
I got to be honest. Depending on how low you go, if you go top 20 or what, looking at his record, you can't just say X's and O's, leadership, confrontation, because there are a lot of great guys that know the X's and O's that never get a lot of recognition because they don't have great players or don't have superstars. But if you go down top 20, top 25 coaches of all time, NBA history, I think he might be on that. I'm just saying he's got 2-time Coach of the Year. He's viewed as revolutionizing the game offensively. He's always had a top-rated offense in the league. He turned Steve Nash into an MVP. He has great regular seasons. I'm just telling you, he would probably be at the lower end of that.
Top 20 coach of all time
in the NBA.
That's never won an NBA Finals, never appeared in an NBA Finals, had teams that were high seeds in the best record and got embarrassed by Popovich. The standard in the NBA.
He's one of the best coaches of all time, Popovich.
You got to beat the best to be the best.
He's not Popovich. He's not on that level.
You got to beat the best to be the best. The standards in the NBA are so low. Everybody makes the Hall of Fame in the NBA. Hell, Jim's got a shot.
Hey, listen, man, you might need to sit down on the couch and work out these issues you got right now.
And your girlfriend says she's
Exactly.
All right, I'll talk to you.
At Buffalo Wild Wings, we'll admit that we often go overboard with our limited time offerings. We just can't help ourselves. Take our new signature sampler. For $15, you get wings and 3 shareable options like fried pickles or cheese curds. Then there's our aptly named over-the-top nachos, a literal mountain of crispy tortilla chips loaded with your choice of pulled pork or honey barbecue grilled chicken, corn, jalapenos, and more. Then top it all off with our new platinum margarita. Go overboard with us today at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Available for a limited time while supplies last. Please drink responsibly. All right, welcome back. Chris Broussard and Jim Jackson are back. Let's move to Boston, where the Celtics went up 2-0 on LeBron and the Cavs this week, leading to a fresh round of praise for their boy genius head coach, Brad Stevens, who has overcome injuries and youth to get Boston within 2 wins of the NBA Finals. But at least one former Celtic, Brian Scalabrine, isn't happy the coach is getting all the credit.
He's a great coach, and he puts guys in a great position. But I feel like it's a little demeaning when people don't give credit to the players. Like, as good of a coach as Brad Stevens is, I think it's a little disrespectful to the players when they win. All the credit goes to Brad. The credit should go to the players who do the work day in and day out.
I think he's making a molehill into a mountain, because what I hear is, man, Marcus Morris did a great job on LeBron James. What I hear, man, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, these 2 young guys, how great they are. And, of course, you do hear a lot of praise for Brad Stevens because you should. And I will point to just one example. Isaiah Thomas played in Phoenix, played in Sacramento, Cleveland, and L.A. Nothing, any of those places, in the top 5 for MVP when playing for Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens might make me a decent player in the NBA. He's so good. So I don't have a problem with Brad getting all this praise.
What do you think?
Well, I get where Scalabrini's coming from, because ultimately it is the players on the court getting it done. And you mentioned a couple other guys you could have mentioned. Jay Crowder had his best years under him. Avery Bradley kind of disappeared in Detroit, was great under him. But here's why Stevens is getting all the credit. He's defined conventional wisdom, and that's huge. Number one, you lost your two best players. His only two real legitimate all-stars, he lost them. Your two leading scorers in the playoffs are 20 years old, Jason Tatum, and 21 years old, Jaylen Brown. That's never happened in the history of the game for a team to go to the conference finals. So because he's doing that, that's why he's getting all of this credit, and it's well-deserved, but I get where Scal's coming from.
I get it, too, but here's the thing, too. I think when Michael Jordan was winning, Phil Jackson got credit for kind of changing the mindset of Michael Jordan and why the team was able to do it, the philosophy of it. When Larry Brown, even though in Detroit you didn't have a superstar, but you had a group of players that played together, Larry Brown got his credit.
Oh, yeah.
And so did the players. I think Brad Stevens, from this perspective, because he's young, he's come from Butler, not a big-name program, and he's been able to be successful, again, with and without star players. He's put those guys in situations. But, Jason, to your point, what I hear, too, is, man, Rozier has grown as a player. Jason Tatum, I can't believe he's a rookie. Who would have thought Philly was stupid for not drafting him, there. So I think it's a really good balance. I think sometimes Scalabrine, being in the midst there in Boston, covering the team, he probably hears more from a different perspective. But from a national side, what I hear, a different perspective on Al Horford. They see Al Horford totally different as a player now than we viewed him in Atlanta.
I think you make a good point about Scalabrine, perhaps because he deals with the players on a daily basis, and maybe he's hearing from them half jokingly, maybe half serious, like, damn, what about me? But I think those players should be very careful because it's clear there are certain coaches and organizations that can create an environment where you can grow and really develop. And they've clearly done that. Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens and that entire organization. I think it's Jalen Rose that keeps making the point. We keep talking about the Philadelphia process, and the process is actually in Boston. And it's Brad Stevens.
I'll say this, too. Look, Brad Stevens, I think, has become the face of that franchise or the face of that team. So next year, let's say Kyrie's healthy, Gordon Hayward's healthy. Brad Stevens, it's now his team. Like, the Rockets are James Harden's team, not Mike D'Antoni. Obviously, Cleveland's LeBron's team. Golden State is Steph or KD.
Spurs are Pop.
Yeah, Spurs are Pop. They're one. Now, when they had Duncan, though, I think they still were viewed as Duncan's team because when Duncan got there and led them to the titles, Popovich really hadn't done much yet. And so they kind of grew into Pop's team as Duncan got older. But I think that is one difference. They, unlike most teams, maybe other than only San Antonio, they're going to be viewed as Brad Stevens' teams more than even a superstar like Kyrie Irving.
Well, here's the thing, though. But if you're players and you want recognition, here's where your biggest recognition comes. When your contract is up and they pay you your money. At the end of the day, forget what everybody else is saying. Does the organization respect what I'm doing enough to pay me what my market is? That's when you get it.
And you saying there's no guarantee they're going to give that. Because if the organization, if Danny Ainge is like, man, I can, like Kyrie, I can get it done with Terry Rozier.
How about
I'm not
this?
giving you
How about this? How about Gordon Hayward? Let's talk. If I was there, would you trade Gordon Hayward?
I would be looking to trade. If I could get a good deal,
that's right. Me too.
I think they're going to duplicate this. Maybe there's something going on in Boston. But look, the Patriots have been Bill Belichick's team, despite having the greatest player of all time on the team. It's been the Patriots. Maybe they're going to duplicate that. But if I were any of those players, I would look across at the Patriots and say, how has that hurt Brady? How is that being?
I don't think you think it's hurting?
No, I don't think it's hurt him at all. And that's what I think they should realize. Jaylen Brown, Jason, to get this kind of experience this early in their career, carrying a team this far, that's going to pay off for them for the rest of their career. All right, elsewhere in the sports world, there's been a lot of talk about this week's Supreme Court decision opening the door for legalized sports betting. While some pro leagues like the NBA have openly embraced gambling, One former NBA star, Meta World Peace, says it could put college athletics in some bad situations, explaining, quote, I've been approached in college, hey, I got $35,000 for you. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'll take $35,000. They said, we need you to throw a game. That's when I'm like, you expletive. But it crossed my mind, $35,000 to throw a game, not bad. That's the problem I have with betting. They'll force a kid into a situation, and then when the kid's trying to go to the NBA, they hold it against the kid. I think Meta raises a good point. I disagree with him, though, because if you really understand gambling and people that would be willing to offer $35,000 to throw a game, that's a criminal. And that's a criminal person. And so whether gambling's legal or not, they're going to engage in criminal activity and they're going to offer bribes. And so I don't think legalizing it is going to make me or my mother or some other casual bettor or whatever offer people to throw the game. A criminal is going to be a criminal.
So that's what you're saying. But I think that's the key here is that I think because now it comes into the fold where gambling is legal in every state, okay? Now you got regulations by the state. That everybody thinks now that it's going to be this collusion. But it's not. The people that gamble are going to gamble. The people that don't, they may do it casually. As far as, betting or having somebody throw a game, that's always a possibility, whether gambling is there or not. You know what I mean? Especially on the college side. I think in the NBA and pros, guys make too much money now. They ain't worried about a few dollars.
Yeah, I agree. I think guys make too much money in the NBA. And in this case, Meta World Peace, Ron Artest at the time, he knew he was going to the NBA. But what about if they had gone to a teammate who's a starter, can still impact the game, but not going to the NBA? Maybe one of your teammates, one of your Ohio State, knows he's not going to the NBA, maybe comes from an impoverished background. I'm telling you, if that happens, that will be very tempting. And a lot of kids, they're already hearing, man, we should be getting paid.
But they're doing it now. Without the gambling. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Because
Without the legalizing.
But
without the legalizing.
Easier, though, because you had to go to Vegas for a lot of time, for most of it. But now you don't have to leave the state. You could just stay in Ohio or wherever you're from and maybe approach the players.
Here's where I think it's going to perhaps be more pervasive. Jim, I don't know what it was like for you when you were a college athlete, but when I was, I had no idea of what the gambling line was.
Right.
It never crossed my mind. It was never anything we talked about as a team. Our coaches never talked about it. Players, we didn't talk about it. Almost the minute I was done playing football, my 5th year, I played 4 years, in my 5th year I didn't. The minute I was done, I became friends with a sports bookie on our campus, and I followed the lines religiously as soon as I was done. And so what I think the legalized gambling is going to make it more front and center with the actual players. And so that's why I go back to when you played, were you aware of the lines as a college athlete?
I wasn't even aware of lines when I played in the league, which is crazy. I remember one time I'm playing in Philly and a guy asked me, what's the line? I'm like, man, I don't know, because that just wasn't where I was at. But but with these kids nowadays, do they pay enough attention to that? Now,
But
again,
they may start.
But
That's
it's always an outlier. I say it's always an outlier from that perspective.
Let me give you one more.
Okay?
Let me give you one more to both of you, and you got a young son.
Right.
This NBA 2K, kids are gambling on it and making money legally now. I just think for our generation, Chris and I are the same age or about, the gambling thing just wasn't as pervasive, and kids today, I think, are more in tune just through their video games that you can make money through sports, even if you're not a participant. I think it's going to be more commonplace.
What about the possibility of a player, again, a starter on a college team but knows he's not going pro, telling some of his acquaintances, hey, go put this money down, we can make a lot, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Trying to go around them a little bit. Again, it depends on the player, depends on the person, depends on the situation. Like Headache Smith, when he was at Arizona State, his mom was sick, he was in poverty. They promised him the money, he needed it, so he threw the game. He took the money.
You're going to have fans in the arenas with their phones, able to bet. So the conversation in the arena. Look, gambling is a part of sports, but I just think it's going to be more a part. And I think, Chris, even more so than just, hey, let's put this money on a game. Gamblers want information. Who's hurt? Who's suspended? who's playing or not playing. I can remember this year, there were some kids in some academic trouble at some school that I bet on, and I did everything. Are they coming back this game? And trying to figure that out.
Right.
I just think that type of conversation through social media, in the arena, all of this is just going to become more pervasive, and the kids are going to be in tune. There's potential money for me to make.
Do you have your boys there in college? You had your boys in college?
Yeah.
You had your boys in college? Mm-hmm. Maybe it comes from that perspective, too, because, your boys, some of them always trying to look to get over. And so what they do is like you talked about, well, what's going on? Is so-and-so hurt today? What the coach say about this?
Question.
And as a player, you may not be aware of why he's asking it, but again, it puts you in the mix in regards to giving that type of information.
And it just it's like you guys were saying, in college, we didn't really think about the gambling. You didn't even think about it in the pros. But now when it becomes legal, it's going to put it out there in people's faces more. So guys that might not have thought about doing it, now they're thinking about it.
All right, welcome back. Chris Broussard and Jim Jackson are back. We're joined now by the founder of the big league, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the Warriors, who got trounced by the Rockets in last night's Game 2, with Steph Curry having an especially rough night, going just 1 of 8 from 3 and getting run over on defense, with Houston making it a point to go right at him. After the game, Steph talked about his struggles.
For the most part, it's just a frustrating night all the way around. I'll shoot the ball better, play better defense. Other guys, get involved. We'll be in great shape. So, again, no panic, no house is on fire type of mentality in our locker room. We're in pretty good shape right now.
The former unanimous MVP has not been good so far in the conference finals, with his numbers falling off a cliff compared to what he did during the regular season, including a 27-point drop in his three-point shooting. Right now, guys, Steph Curry is the weak link of Golden State's big four. He's the weak link. They're going at him on the defensive end. His shot is off. I don't believe he's 100% healthy. He could be the person that cost them this series.
Well, let's forget the narrative about health, because he was fine in the Pelican series. So it wasn't any issue about that. I think the issue is, though, with a guard like Steph, you can be more physical with him. You take the Cavs and what they did a couple years ago when they won. Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith, they were physical not only when he had the ball, but when he didn't have the ball. And that's the key when you play defense with a guy like Steph. You can't allow him to get separation. And right now, he's not getting any separation when he comes off the screens or when he's out on the perimeter. Defensively, yeah, he's a weak link. But keep in mind, individual defense is based on team defense. If your team defense doesn't provide help, then as an individual, I don't care who you are, you're going to get burnt. So they're going to have to place special attention more so to kind of inching in a little bit more to help Steph. But Steph hasn't played well percentage-wise when he's gotten to the finals, because unlike Durant, he's like a king on the chessboard. You can move him around in different spots and he's effective because he has size. Steph, as a guard, smaller, you can't do that.
I think 2 issues he's having. I'm glad you brought up the health, because we got to stop giving him the health
pass
excuse. Because when he plays great, if he has 30 next game, nobody's going to say health. So I think he's fine health-wise. I think them going at him essentially almost every time down the court is wearing him down a little bit, energy-wise, so that affects him offensively. But to me, the biggest concern I have when I'm watching the Warriors, especially last night, they are becoming too Kevin Durant-centric. To me, they played last night like they played in the game Steph was injured. Kevin Durant's bringing the ball up. He's going more ISO. You don't see that free-flowing, fluid offense that we've come to love from them, and that helped make Steph the 2-time MVP. So I think even if Steph or Klay doesn't have it going, I think you stick with your free-flowing offense and don't get tempted to say, all right, KD, you just do it.
Go do it.
Because that's not, they're not special that way.
Get Kevin
no,
Looney.
but they're not, they can win with Durant being the main guy because he's great and they got other great players, but they're not special that way. They're special when they run the free-flowing offense.
I love the overreaction to Steph Curry having a bad game, which he had. He had a bad game. But in Game 1, they went at him 20 times. In Game 2, 23. We know the strategy, as you said, wear him down on the defensive end. And on the offensive end, he's not getting any open looks. But I just want to caution people about this and the health situation. He missed 30 games. When he came back against the Pelicans, he guarded Rajon Rondo, who is not a shooter. He was not setting screens for Holiday. They were not attacking Curry on the offensive end. Here in the series, James Harden, that is the strategy. It has worked a little bit, but we got to remember, the Warriors are still in total control of this series. Whitlock, with Kevin Durant, they are 15-0 at home in the playoffs the last 2 years with an average margin of victory of 15 points per game. Whether Steph Curry's 75%, 90%, 50%, they're in control of this series. Let's not overblow it.
In control of the series, but let me ask all of you this, and we'll start with you, McIntyre. If he continues to struggle, do you think they can win this series?
Yeah, again, I did not think he played poorly in game 1, 18-8. I mean, why aren't we talking about Klay Thompson last night? He was 5 of 16.
Don't dodge. If he continues to struggle, he struggled the last game. If he continues to struggle, can they win this series?
Yes. The role players on Houston are not hitting 12 of 18 threes in game 3 and 4. That's just not happening.
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. You got 3 guys still that can go get it. Yes.
Can, but the gap is a lot smaller. They could also get beat. If Steph's himself, they can't get beat.
Let me tell you something.
If he's
Houston
not
ain't
himself,
gonna
they
make no
could
adjustment.
get beat.
I mean, I just don't trust Mike D'Antoni
Oh,
long term.
now Houston ain't gonna make no
On the
adjustments.
defensive end. I told you, defense.
There you go. So you
Defense.
agree with
They
me?
actually
I'm not saying
defended-
I'm not saying the dumbest. I said on the defensive end.
They defended well last night.
Well, it was easy because they was playing
They got
one-on-one
turned, and it
And it was
basketball.
their backs against the wall.
They was
had
playing
to win.
one-on-one basketball, and plus they didn't allow their offense was their best defense. They didn't allow Golden State to get out in transition. They were under double
If
digits.
Steph Curry struggles, they're not winning this series.
Why not?
Oh, they could win it.
They,
but
they could.
also get beat.
Yes,
They're
they
not
could.
going to if he
They
continues
could
to
do it.
All right, welcome back. Mark Schlereth and Jason McIntyre are back. We're joined now by actor and filmmaker Michael Rappaport. Let's move to Cleveland, where the Browns are set to star in HBO's Hard Knocks. And why not? Things can't get any worse for Cleveland. Coach Hugh Jackson is about to jump in Lake Erie because they just went 0-16. And the team's first overall pick, Baker Mayfield, clearly knows how to play to the camera, even if it's a police camera. All right, look, Hard Knocks has a reputation, well-earned, of making a fool out of at least one person. Jared Goff, whomever. I think Des Bryant was in All or Nothing or some Amazon. But anyway, these shows make a fool out of somebody. The candidates to me are Baker Mayfield and Hugh Jackson. I'm going to go with Hugh because, and again, this will sound like I hate Hugh. I don't. But Hugh is arrogant. And Hugh can be a bit condescending. And Hugh can sound like Bill Belichick or Bill Parcells. And the issue is, when you sound like that and your record is 1-31, people start giggling. And that's my concern.
I'm giggling already.
Right. Listen, you want to make me watch Hard Knocks? Sign that cop that tackled Baker Mayfield. Like, I want to see that dude in the camp because that guy can play.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. Hugh Jackson's on the hot seat. He was 0-16 last year. Like, you want to make somebody look like they're incompetent, it'd be pretty easy to make him look bad on that deal. The other thing is, you look at the young quarterback in Baker Mayfield, I mean, he's going to be there for a while. Now, I don't know how long. I think the kid can play. I question the system that he comes from because I think there's some time, there's a learning curve there, but he can play. He does things from the pocket. You know, the biggest issue is you're going to have to learn from drop back. I think he was under center 6 times in his whole collegiate career. That's a big learning curve there, but he can play. I think they'll do a good job with him. And he certainly understands how to play to the cameras, like you said. Hugh Jackson's a guy, I mean, you want to talk about this is the hot seat of all hot seats that he's on.
Jeff Fisher's licking his chops right now. Can't wait to see Hugh Jackson on Hard Knocks.
I mean, I love Hard Knocks as a fan, and I think that backup Baker Mayfield, because we're forgetting, he's not a starting quarterback. He's not starting for the
Backup
Cleveland Browns.
Baker is going to be the starter.
Backup Baker is going to be the starter, maybe 6 games. But I think Tyrod's going to do well. Yeah. But for me as a fan, this is going to be fantastic. You got Josh Gordon. That's going to be good TV. You got Juice Landry. You got Hugh. And then you got a fan base that had a parade for a team that went 0-16. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it.
I got to question you guys. How does Hugh Jackson have an image if he's 1-31? He's one of the worst
his
coaches.
image.
What's that? What is that? Like, I'm a clown. I'm not good at coaching. I'm not, like, I don't understand how he has an image to damage. This is all about Baker Mayfield. This is going to be a guy who's arrogant. He has transferred schools because he was kicked off being a starter. This is a guy at Oklahoma who tried to run from the police. We know he's arrogant on the field. what's going to happen, Mike? I'm with you. When Tyrod Taylor wins his starting job and Baker's getting the backup snaps, and Baker's like, hey, man, I was the #1 pick. Why am I not out there? I can totally see him being jealous and pouty throughout Hard Knocks.
I agree. But as a fan, I have no vested interest in Cleveland Cavaliers, and LeBron James. I am, as a fan, I can't wait. Hard Knocks is traditionally the show that jumpstarts me as an NFL fan, so I can't wait.
As the backup, though, and he's going through that, do you think that Tyrod Taylor and Hugh Jackson will be on that list that he carries around? You know, that list of media people that every one of us has been on?
Tyrod is a quiet guy. He is unassuming. He's not a rah-rah leadership guy. And Baker's the polar opposite. So it kind of sets up a good dynamic for the show. And again, I think Baker's starting as a backup. I would be shocked if Baker started in September or October.
I'll guarantee you, if Baker makes news from Hard Knocks, it won't be from on the practice field or during a preseason game. Hard Knocks goes to your home. They pick a player or two, they go to their home, show them with their girlfriend or wife and all that, and it might be there where Baker gets into a conversation with his dad, his girlfriend, his mom, somebody where he's like, can you believe that I'm not the starting quarterback, or can you believe Tyrod did this or that? But I still say a 1-31 coach who sounds like he's Bill Parcells is going to be the bigger clown. All right, the Browns aren't the only people in Ohio under a spotlight right now. Ohio State star Nick Bosa is taking some heat after daring to tweet that he didn't like the movie Black Panther, which got some people digging for even more outrage in Bosa's old tweets. Naturally, they weren't disappointed. With Bleacher Report's Mike Freeman, who actually has an on-the-record source this time, Nick Bosa's Twitter feed. So to summarize, some of the tweets from next year's likely #1 draft pick, Nick Bosa. 1, Black Panther is the worst Marvel movie. 2, Beyonce's music is trash. 3, Kaepernick is a clown. All righty then, from Mike Freeman. Mike Freeman used to masquerade as a journalist at the New York Times and the Washington Post. He's done even pretending to be a journalist now. He's an outrage police over Twitter. And to connect 3 different independent thoughts, he said the Black Panther thing in the past month or two. He said something about the other guys in 2016, I think one in August and one in May. I think Breaking Bad stinks. I think I think The Wire app is the greatest show in the history of anything. I'm not a big fan of country or rock music. I got a lot of opinions because of the way I was brought up where the mainstream white culture probably wouldn't be on board with. Does it make me racist or does it just make me be like, well, I grew up at the Masterpiece Lounge? I don't, this is unfair, this criticism of Nick Bosa.
Well, it certainly is unfair. I think it's interesting, though. I mean, in the world, you grew up in this world with social media. So you know kind of the reaction that you're going to get. And if you don't like the reaction, you probably shouldn't make the tweet if you don't want the reaction. Here's the issue, is this isn't so much, I like Batman. I think Superman is stupid, right?
Yep.
I'm just not a Superman fan. That's okay. Here's the deal, though. This is like failing the marijuana test in the NFL. Like, they come to you and say, hey, listen, man, you got to quit smoking by July 4th because we're going to have a test at 9 a.m. on the 28th. So make sure you, like, if you fail that test, you're an idiot. In the Twitter world, if you fail that test, you're just dumb. Like, it's just not, it doesn't make you a racist,
Well,
it makes you stupid.
Hold on. Wait, Whitlock made a good point. In 2016, he called Colin Kaepernick a clown. Nick Bosa was 18 years old. So that's not allowed?
I'm 50 and Colin Kaepernick is a clown.
I just feel like this is so unfair. I'm actually, like, upset about this, what Mike Freeman has done. Because this is now tagged to Nick Bosa. Everybody's looking in his feed.
What does he like, though? Is he Roger Ebert?
I don't know. He's a 20-year-old kid.
But does he like Shania Twain? He's like Ted Nugent?
I like Taylor Swift. I want to go to the Taylor Swift concert this weekend. So now am I like a weirdo because I like Taylor Swift?
If I were him, I would have just put out one tweet.
Yeah,
You
put
did
that
a
out there.
3-for-1 and put "They will not replace us." Because in my opinion, that's the vibe he's going for. And also, like, you don't like Beyonce. Who asked you? Who do you like? So you're like, who do you like? Is he made any tweets or what do you like?
I'm sure he's mentioned what he liked. Everybody.
Is it named Nick Bosa or Nick Bozo?
Listen.
What's his name?
Every
20 years old,
Is it
Mike.
Bosa or
He's
Bozo?
20.
Every white person I know loved the movie The Hangover. I thought it was hot garbage and tweeted about it. Mm-hmm. Again,
They didn't call you.
Breaking Bad, I think is the last 3 to 4 seasons. I thought was garbage, and everybody knows I tweet
You're
about it
tripping on
all
that.
the time. Again, he can have opinions.
Yeah, he can have opinions.
Whitlock, here's where it's a problem. Josh Rosen was tagged as like a Republican, intelligent guy who's thinking, we don't want that in
Rosen?
football. Yeah, Josh Rosen, remember?
Oh,
The
social
UCLA
justice warrior,
quarterback.
but go ahead.
Well, exactly. They went after him. What do you think Nick Bosa we're going to hear about coming up on the draft? Well, he's a big Trump fan. Well, we don't know. He could be.
Can I just tell
This
you
is
something?
where we're headed,
Let me just
Mark.
tell you something. Can he rush the passer?
Yes.
Then I don't give a rip.
I hope
Like,
that's
really
the
makes a
right. You know what?
difference.
It was Steve Keim who said one of the greatest things ever in the history of draft. Like we would draft. What was the dude who ate people? What was that movie? Silence of the
Hannibal
Lambs?
Lecter.
We'll draft. If Hannibal Lecter ran a 4.3, we'd say he had a eating disorder. I mean, that's the way the NFL operates. So if that kid can rush the passer, we don't care.
I agree. In terms of these things, this is not anything
Yeah.
to be upset about. But I will say this: Beyonce has more Grammys than he has sacks, so he should hold his head. I'm just saying. Look it up. Run the numbers, Whitlock.
I like Beyonce. But if somebody don't like Beyonce,
But to say she's trash, I'm not a Beyonce fan, but I'm to say she's trash, like you're bugging.
Well, her music, not her.
No, I'm saying, like, to say her music is trash, like everybody's got.
18-year-old kid saying something
That's the core
hyperbolic.
audience. That's the core. Like, you don't like any Beyonce, like, no, or her music is trash. Come on, man.
I don't like no Kenny Chesney, and I got dragged to his concert once.
Yeah, I don't like any Kenny
Did
Chesney
you like it
either.
after Kenny?
I did. I was
Isn't
treated
that
very
Kenny's
well.
all right,
for
right?
Going
Yeah.
for going to the concert.
right.
I was treated very well. Listen, Mike Freeman is one of the. I knew him personally back in the day. He wants his hood credibility, and he's using Nick Bosa to get it, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Either you got hood credibility or you don't.
That's true.
Don't try to force it by beating up some little 20-year-old kid who's done nothing wrong. All right, welcome back. Jim Jackson is back for last call. Let's move to the NBA, where James Harden, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis were revealed as finalists for the MVP award last night. We know the Brow isn't going to win, so Jim, who you got, Harden or LeBron?
Well, they're going to give it to Harden. They're going to give it to Harden. I mean,
Who
he
deserves it?
LeBron deserves it every year. He's the most valuable player. You keep in mind, if you take LeBron, even Anthony Davis off their teams, they're nothing, okay? You take Harden off, especially this year, you still got Chris Paul and some ancillary players that can still perform. But you're talking about most valuable, the guy that does it all, that's most valuable to his team. And quite honestly, LeBron is most valuable to the league.
All right, to Toronto, where the Raptors tweeted congrats to Dwayne Casey last night. After it was announced he was a finalist for Coach of the Year, just one problem. They fired Casey last week. Jim, we all know Canadians are nice, but is this some passive-aggressive BS they're doing here?
Yeah, miss me with this one. That's almost like you got a girlfriend, you broke up, something happened, she did something well, you sent out a text. Congratulations. Hey, stop it. You fired me. Leave it alone. Don't engage me anymore. Miss me on this one.
They called him Coach Casey.
I know, Coach.
too.
Yeah, he ain't no coach. Who's he coaching for?
That was really passive-aggressive and like trolling, or they feel sorry for firing him. That wasn't a good look, Toronto. Drake, you should be ashamed of yourself.